27th. What was I gonna say? Oh, I just wanted to follow up on. So I had class today. Thursdays it's politics of sexual violence, and for homework we had to listen to Chanel Miller's impact statement. I had heard of this case before, but I never really, I mentioned that I don't watch the news, and this is something that I shared in our small group discussion. I don't watch the news for a reason, and I remember vaguely hearing about this, but not diving in much for my own sanity. But having to read it and listen to it really for class was challenging. I had to break it up and do something else. I think I broke it up over a couple of days because it was just too much. And but it speaks to how being vulnerable and transparent can really shed light to a personal story, a journey, a chapter in someone's life, and how as you're listening and being a part of that experience by listening, you find yourself connecting emotionally with some part of this person's journey to a certain degree. And so there's this element of not feeling alone in your own story, but also being able to connect emotionally in an empathic manner, right? With this person who is speaking up. And so I shared about my own process with listening to her statement and the courage that she had in having to revisit her trauma from beginning to end. And you know, there's a certain element of backlash that people might have as part of the triggering process to see that she had to be re-triggered, re-traumatized by sharing her story. But in reality, this ability to retell your story and find different aspects of it as you're retelling it and exploring certain parts, if not all of it, deconstructing it, giving it a different meaning to then elicit a different emotional response towards it, is very powerful in the healing process itself. And that's what she did with this statement and reading it out loud and being public about it. Initially, I think she was anonymous, but then it became public. And so I was sharing my experience and listening to everyone else share, and just, you know, I spoke on change and how challenging it can be for us as we're living life in this moment to feel like there's no change occurring within the different systems that we live in, whether it's political or cultural or in our families, and really more systemic though, right? Because we live in society and there's different, you know, levels of society and how we connect with all of them in different ways, and how those are all interconnected in other different ways, just as we all are, right? And so I was shedding light as to the frustrations with how it feels like there's nothing being done. Another part of the homework assignment was to read Me Too, hashtag Me Too from Below, which spoke to, I guess, the previous feminist movement of Lean In, comparing both Lean In and Me Too. And it also highlighted this element of the differences of those movements and socioeconomic status within each, and the impact, right? And really taking it beyond just the workplace in a professional standpoint. They were looking at women of higher rank, socioeconomic status, compared to Me Too, where it was regardless of race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status. It was just demonstrating that it actually bleeds everywhere in all types of workforce positions. And so sometimes there's this feeling of like, wow, really? How is it that we're still struggling with the same concept? And so there is that feeling of that. And then, right, me putting on my hat of acknowledging just change, right? Change is the one constant in life. Yet, it's also the most difficult for us to embrace, right? Hashtag COVID. and so, we find ourselves, just as individuals, struggling with change at our own personal level. And so then if we're each struggling with change at our own personal level, it's only going to be reflective of that at a systemic level. Because it's a ripple effect, right? Just as Chanel Miller's statement had this ripple effect on women, and not even just women, it's just anybody who identified as having had some type of rape, assault, not being seen, not being heard. Again, just different elements of her story resonating with different people, and then the support that she was receiving for speaking up, right, sharing her truth. So just as that can be a ripple effect and have that impact, so can the opposite, right? We just don't realize it. And so I was shedding light as to how for us it feels like there's more stagnation because of that reality that we struggle with change. And even when it's forced change, right, like COVID, we struggle with it even more. There's a lot more pushback, right, because we're not ready for it. It's being forced upon us. And we think about force, right? There's an element of a violation of where we are in that moment. I think a lot of the frustration is, when will we get there? The destination, right? And the reality is, wanting permanent change. But the reality is, because we're constantly evolving and growing, we're never really going to reach a permanent stage or state of being. We're constantly going to be growing and evolving and expanding and just building upon that which was already created, right? So like the Lean In movement, this is just building upon that, just deconstructing what doesn't work anymore and building upon that. And then the generations to come are going to look at us right now in this moment, deconstruct what's going on, take what works, build upon that, right? This constant evolutionary process of growth and expansion. So the video that I'm preparing is actually for this weekend. And it's chapter 36, episode 1, Feeling How Much to Share, where I talk about this dream that I had with my sister and my chicha, which is one of the twins. And I'm reflecting on Hannah as well, and just how I had communicated information to both of them, right? With one, I was too much, and with the other, not enough. And even just the type of connection and where the investment was in rebuilding the connection, right? Clearly with my sister, there was more of an interest, like, hey, let's work on this. There was this awareness on my part. and the choice that I made to seek her out. Whereas with Hannah, I didn't, more so because she had blocked me. And even though with my sister I was a little more insistent, and not even insistent, because I just sent her a text and then let her see, right? And she was responding. But with Hannah, she clearly blocked me, right? Instead of choosing to reach out or respond back in any way, shape, or form, this was her response, really. Silence speaks loudly. So this was her response back. And so I was just reflecting on the video and the dream, because I'd forgotten about that dream, and how I even follow it up with the discussion on inner child wounds and just what was going on at that time when I was connecting with my old clinician, and then even just reflecting on that dream, because with a lot of these, because they were initial dreams, I didn't go back to reflect. I don't think I did. I don't remember. And I don't remember if I reflected on this one afterwards. I'd be curious to see. Because I prepared them in the sense of identified the chapter title, but I haven't listened to them completely. So I don't remember if I don't think I processed this one. But now I'm thinking about it. And I wonder if Chicha was symbolic of my sister as a younger child, because I'm holding her. I'm describing that I'm holding Chicha with her getting bit by the shark. And then it becomes my sister. She becomes my sister with this wound. And the challenge that I've had with my sister is that sometimes I say too much. Sometimes I don't monitor what I say and I scare her. So I've learned to take a step back and not say much. And in this dream, it was interesting because I'm telling her to put a jacket on. And I remember looking up the symbolism of a jacket, and it's like a new role or a new life. Excuse me. And in my dream, she's following direction. So there's this element of her trusting me. And then she comes back and she lays down and I'm still holding her like a baby. And that triggered in me also just this element of she's allowing me to help her compared to other times. And even in my course of my own personal development, literally half a lifetime ago in my 20s, I used to walk around with a chip on my shoulder like I knew best. And in my family, because of the role that I had, I was very parentified emotionally. And, I mentioned that my parents would come to me for assistance. And I had this parent role. Even my sister, for a while, I was an emotional parent to her. And so, but that created this me self-righteous young Yubi that didn't listen to other people and knew best, and tried to force my beliefs and what you should do, right, on other people. So all of this got tied in together today for me. Hearing Chanel Miller's statement, this idea of using force, which is a violation, right? Literally, you're having to violate a person's right in that moment when you're forcing something upon someone else. And at the end of the day, we each have agency. We each have a choice. But better yet, a voice to be heard, to be seen, to be respected. But even silence speaks if you learn how to listen, right? And so just connecting all the dots with that and because Chanel Miller speaks on how there was an element where, she had a little too much to drink, and why was that being the focus of it, instead of the fact that he, the perpetrator, why he didn't listen to the fact that she wasn't responding, right? Silence speaks. And what right had he to violate that? Instead of acknowledging and taking control of himself to not act in that manner because of someone's inability to speak in that moment. Because silence speaks, right? If you learn how to listen. So anyways, all that got triggered. All that got triggered as I'm preparing this video and reflecting on the class today and the readings and then realizing, right, that the dream, I wonder if my chicha was just symbolic of my sister as a young child and her own inner child wounds that she's finally allowing me to help her heal, right? Because when I shared my truth with my sister about the world that I'm embracing, she was really fearful of it. And then the dream, very fearful of it. And so I've stepped back from sharing, right? I've stepped back, and she's told me, like, I don't share my dreams with her anymore. I don't. Because the last thing I would want to do is scare me, right? So, anyways, that got triggered today, just now. I just want to speak to that. Second week of class. I didn't get triggered today, but I still need to do the readings, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. And I'm excited for the official news that I'm a business owner. I reached out to my friend who was helping me out, and he's sending me congratulations, you're an official business owner. And now I need to do the next step, which is some type of statement that I need to submit, and we're getting it done. So that's all. Just want to share that. All right, thanks. Bye. Hi, my name is Yubi, and in case you haven't figured it out, this footage is capturing my experience as I learn to navigate my personal spiritual awakening. I am learning that this experience is unique to each one of us. In whatever way we believe we are embracing living our truth, this just happens to be my journey. And despite me having a graduate degree and a license in clinical social work, this by no means is intended to replace any type of mental health advice. This is just me on a personal level, documenting my experience, shedding light on the truth that I am learning and discovering for myself, and really inviting you along for the ride. If by some magical chance you find this content to be helpful in any way, shape, or form, please click the like button, share the message, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have an Instagram account, a personal one, and one specifically for this channel that you're more than welcome to check out. I'm an open book. I have also created t-shirt designs. I'm wearing my favorite one right now, which is the North Node design, but I have that and other things that you can look at inspired by this process and journey, and I have the link in the description box as well as in the about section of my YouTube channel. So you're more than welcome to check those items out. Any type of support is great. Again, if you find this content really helpful or meaningful, sometimes when we take that step and be vulnerable, with showing what's inside our hearts and what's really our truth, we realize that we're much more connected than what we thought we were. And so I hope that as I'm living this experience and that you find some type of truth for yourself, or find some type of ability to heal in some way just by relating, just by knowing that you're not alone. That really has been my goal with this process, not just being able to connect with others, but really for my own healing. It's definitely been a therapeutic experience and a very creative one for myself. So I thank you, and I wish you all the best, and we'll see what else comes next for me.